This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where Lee Rosen and Ned Days cover management, marketing, finance, and new technologies for building the practice you deserve. Rosen Institute members received this episode early, as well as exclusive segments on eliminating friction in your law firm, and an answer to a member question about how to stay consistently and long-term focused on your top priorities. Get access to everything you're missing at roseninstitute.com/join. Here's Lee Rosen.
It's good to be with you today from Raleigh, where the funeral is behind us, and now we're faced with our annual medical marathon. Lisa and I both have all of our annual doctor visits jammed into a week of hectic lab tests and appointments and the occasional skin thing or some other medical procedure. I'm seeing the dentist, the podiatrist, the cardiologist, the internist, and the dermatologist, and I'm actually seeing the dermatologist twice. Then we cap all of that off with repeated visits to the pharmacy where we navigate the insurance issues involved in getting a big load of my prescription medication that they don't want to pay for. It is an absolutely insane annual ritual, but we've now done it for more than 10 years, so we've gotten used to it. It's a year worth of medical visits all jammed into a single week, and when I look back on it, I think it's worth it not to have to deal with it all year long. Once all of that is behind us, we jump back onto an airplane and back into the game.
It's time for your tech tip. I am known for thinking outside the box, for disrupting industries, for turning old ways of doing things on their head. So get a load of this idea. You know how you visit ChatGPT in your browser to interact with it? Well, what if you set ChatGPT to your homepage? Yeah, I know, firing on all cylinders with that one. I am open to venture funding for this idea, so just let me know. In all seriousness, though, the age of AI web browsers is here, and it is basically setting ChatGPT as your homepage and having it available in a sidebar. The browser company, which was behind the third-party Arc browser, released Dia much earlier this year. It was arguably the first into the fray. Brave has had an AI assistant for a couple of months. Nanobrowser.ai is a Chrome extension that lets you attach a sidebar using multiple models to your browser tab. But in just the past few weeks, all of the heavy hitters have announced or released new AI-based browsers or updated their browser to incorporate AI functionality. Perplexity released Comet. Google announced new AI functionality rolling out in Chrome, although that's been rather slow. Shortly thereafter, OpenAI released Atlas, and about 2 days after that, Microsoft Edge had an update that more or less looks exactly like Atlas. So I have rattled off the names of all of these AI browsers. Now it's time for a detailed breakdown and feature comparison, right? Well, that isn't really necessary because they're all exactly the same. These days, if somebody says they have a new browser, that means it's essentially Google Chrome with some added stuff slapped on top. Your normal day-to-day browsing functions will be completely unaltered and unchanged. And the AI functionality, at least as it exists right now, boils down to just a few enhancements. The first is that your start page and URL bar act like a prompt in ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or any other LLM. If you've used Google's AI mode for search or ChatGPT's web search function or tried Perplexity, you will know exactly what you're getting when doing a web search in one of these AI browsers. The second enhancement is an AI sidebar. This is once again your standard LLM prompt where you can have conversations or ask questions about the page or tab you are currently viewing. Kind of useful, but not earth-shattering. You can ask questions about items on the page, get summaries, ask it to format the data in something like a CSV file, which can be handy. Basically anything you would ask for and get in a ChatGPT or Gemini conversation, but your chat has the contents of the web page to draw from for context as well. One enhancement I do think will change how we use our browsers over time is how they treat tabs and browser history. You can ask the AI about pages you were viewing hours or days or weeks ago. You can ask about searches you made, and it will furnish the answers and the context. I can see this taking the place of bookmarks and browser history for a lot of us. It's much easier to ask vague questions about something you were looking at than remember the URL or the exact wording of a page title. But the headline feature in these AI browsers is the ability to turn your browser into an AI agent, performing tasks on your behalf. Agentic web is arguably the most compelling use case for these browsers, and frankly for how a lot of people will use automation on a day-to-day basis. The promise is that you simply ask the AI sidebar to do something like book a flight or find a product on Amazon and order it, or something else that would require researching and pointing and clicking, and the browser will take control of your mouse and keyboard and do it for you. In practice, it's clunky and underwhelming. Atlas and Comet offer some variant of this now, the others will have it shortly. It makes for interesting tech demos like adding the ingredients from a recipe webpage to a shopping cart, but the question about how likely anybody is to use something like that in the real world still remains. For me at least, grocery shopping is my favorite hobby. It's the one thing I can do that connects me to my hunter-gatherer past. You may as well build an AI that takes care of sleeping and eating so that I can just stay up 24/7 focusing on the important things like paying bills and sitting in traffic. I'm being a little dismissive, but I do see this as the beginning of something that will be useful in the future. I've mentioned web scraping tools before, apps that allow you to guide a browser to pull information off of web pages or databases behind paywalls. They let you automate browser interactions so that you can run those commands on a schedule. What browser agents promise is the ability to do this on demand and with a lot less setup. If you're feeling adventurous and patient, you can try it for yourself right now. But this browser agent functionality is not without its pitfalls and security concerns. The most obvious but probably benign is the agent acting on your behalf without oversight and getting something wrong, buying things you didn't intend to, adding too many things to the cart, spending more than you wanted, deleting something that you didn't want to delete, that kind of thing. A more serious concern is what is called prompt injection. The way these LLM services work when they are sucking up all the content of a web page you are on is that they are just dumping all of the page code into your chat along with your instructions behind the scenes. It's as though you pasted a big block of text or HTML directly into your ChatGPT conversation. The LLM can't really distinguish your instructions from instructions that may be present on the page, either in plain sight or hidden in some way. And if you ask for a summary of a web page that has instructions to do something like log into Gmail and copy your contacts, or log into your bank account and find account numbers or balances or something else, there's a chance that the browser will comply. Now, as it stands, if you are watching your computer do its slow, clunky song and dance of visiting sites and moving the mouse in agent mode, you would probably get a little suspicious when you see it visit your banking portal and shut it down. But if you are just letting it run wild in the background, maybe not. So far, the reaction of the companies releasing these AI browsers is something along the lines of, wow man, that would totally suck, be safe out there, which they no doubt had ChatGPT write for them as they drink expensive green juice in a doomsday bunker somewhere in New Zealand. I am not aware of any reports of this actually happening in the wild just yet, but it does raise concerns about the security of letting the agents run wild in this current iteration of AI browsers. So while I realize I am often telling you to sign up for and install all kinds of crazy pieces of software, and relative to those, a browser from OpenAI or Microsoft is surprisingly legit, I am actually going to say that at this point, you can probably pass on messing around with them. If you want to give them a shot or the features are already bundled in the browser you're using, then by all means do so. And I don't imagine it will be long until these do become more useful, particularly as more services offer support for AI interactions programmatically, so that instead of watching your browser move the mouse around clumsily, it handles things like research, booking, and purchasing more seamlessly and behind the scenes. You might be able to authorize your accounts, and the browser, which again is really just ChatGPT or Gemini, does things on your behalf without the song and the dance of moving the mouse for you. And maybe if we're lucky, they'll add some security guardrails too. But at least at the moment, they are not offering a hugely compelling reason not to just keep using your normal browser and have a tab with your favorite LLM open inside. That said, since they are all just Chrome with some extra doodads and will import your profiles, bookmarks, and history on startup, you're not giving up anything to try them. I'm Ned Days, and that's your tech tip.
And now for your moment of concise advice. I used to think that some things were timeless, like advertising. It's been around forever. First it was newspapers, and then yellow pages, and then television ads and radio, and Then social media and YouTube and podcasts, and it's everywhere, and it always has been. The delivery of advertising, it changes, but the idea, it stays the same. You put your message where people are looking. Now, networking felt, at least to me, like one of those timeless things as well. You meet someone for lunch, you share a coffee, you follow up with calls and emails, and over time, you build trust, and trust is what leads to referrals for your practice. That's the know you, like you, trust you process that I believed in and I taught to others and I relied on in my practice for years and years. But something has changed. Years ago, I was walking through this food court in Raleigh when this guy chased me down. "Aren't you that guy from YouTube?" he asked. And I was the guy from YouTube. I had been posting videos there, and he had been watching them, and he knew things about me. He knew details from the family law videos that I was putting up. He knew personal stories that I had tossed out on the videos along the way. To him, we had been friends for a long time. He knew me, at least that's the way he felt. Meanwhile, as he went on and on, I was scrambling to even place what it was that he was talking about. It was all a little disorienting and confusing. It was awkward. But here's the point. This guy who had been watching me on YouTube, he trusted me. Our brains, they didn't need that in-person handshake anymore to build trust. No, all our brains needed was a chance for him to watch me on YouTube. Our brains accept audio and video and even writing as enough to build trust. Now, networking, it still works. The one-on-one meetings, the coffees, the lunches, they work great, but they're time-consuming, and they don't always pay off for you. I've kept meticulous records of my lunches and follow-ups over the years, and many times they work out. We'll go to lunch over and over again. We'll have coffee repeatedly. I'll send each of these prospective referral sources hundreds of emails over years. We'll stay in touch, and some of those people turned into great referral sources. But other folks, nothing, zero referrals, no matter how much time I invested. While networking works with many folks, it doesn't work with everyone. That's just not the way it is. But what surprises me is how often the opposite happens online. People that I've never met, folks who only know me from a podcast or a video, they start to feel like they really do know me. They trust me. And over time, these folks that I have never met, that I have never taken to coffee or lunch, that I have never shaken hands with, they've sent referrals worth thousands of dollars. These one-sided connections, they have become an important part of my business. The difference, though, between building a network one person at a time and doing it online, it's scale. Lunch is one-to-one, but content is one-to-many. Both approaches to marketing build trust, but one of them can reach a lot more people. Now, trust is still what it's all about. Trust is what drives referrals. That part hasn't changed. What has changed is how people form trust. For some, it still happens over lunch. They need that handshake. They need that eye contact. They need that relationship. But more and more, trust happens when someone sees a video, or maybe lots of your videos, or hears a podcast, or maybe lots of your podcasts. That switch in their brain, it just flips. The trust turns on. Trust is emotional. And once that switch, that trust switch, once it flips, you've got a connection. You've got trust. The person on the other end of this relationship, they don't stop to ask themselves, how many times did we meet, or how many coffees have we had? No, they just feel it. And once they feel it, everything changes. They're willing to tell their friends about you. They're willing to hire your law firm. They're willing to pass their trust along to others. That's a pretty big flip of a pretty important switch, and it's happening more and more, especially among younger folks and more affluent, time-crunched folks. That switch is being flipped at scale in very different ways today than it was back in the day. So here's the takeaway. Don't cling to the tactic. cling to the principle. Trust. Trust is the foundation. Your job is to build it, whether that building takes place across a table or across a podcast feed or across a YouTube video. Trust is what it's all about, and that's your moment of concise advice. Wrapping up from Raleigh, thanks for spending a few minutes with me and Ned today. We hope you have a great weekend and an even better week next week. Keep plugging away, moving forward, and getting things done. You're on the right track. You'll get there, I promise. We're all in this together, and together we build better practices through better marketing, better management, and better technology. Until next time, I'm Lee Rosen.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. Subscribe to the Friday File at roseninstitute.com and join thousands of lawyers focused on working on, instead of in their practices. You'll find safe, successful, actionable approaches for transforming your firm. Sign up for free at roseninstitute.com.